Hello and welcome to ELA Explained. In the previous video, we talked about different plot elements, and today we will look into the ways in which plots can be organized. Before we begin, I would like to point out that the list of plot structures presented in this video is not exhaustive, and that a single literary work can combine more than one plot structure. First, let's review what we covered in the previous video. A linear plot structure presents the events of a narrative in chronological order and follows a clear and straightforward timeline, which makes it easy for readers to understand the cause and effect relationships in the story. Last time, we discussed the tragedy of Macbeth by William Shakespeare, which consists of 5 acts and shows how untamed ambition leads to the downfall of the protagonist. The opposite of a linear structure is a nonlinear one, which is a general term for presenting events out of sequence. This can be achieved through alternating between multiple parallel stories, the use of flashbacks, flash-forwards, or a frame narrative. While nonlinear structures do not emphasize direct causality, they allow readers to become more invested in the story as they try to piece together its parts. This often creates an atmosphere of mystery and suspense and allows authors to delve deeper into their characters' conflicts and motivations. The short story The Roads We Take by O. Henry begins with Shark Dodson and his companions robbing a train. As they run away, one of their horses breaks a leg. Dodson and his companion Bob stop to discuss their next step, and during their conversation, we see a short flashback to an important decision Dodson made as a young person. Eventually, Dodson decides to kill his companion. As we keep reading, we realize that the entire story was actually a flashback, a dream about Dodson's past. At present, he is a Wall Street broker, and while he doesn't kill people anymore, he is still ruthless to his partners. Reverse chronology is a plot structure which presents the events of a story in reverse order. By revealing the outcome of the story first, the author encourages the reader to analyze their character's behavior from a different perspective. This structure often creates suspense, inviting the reader to find out how exactly the characters ended up in their current situation. The novel How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents tells the story of the Garcia sisters and their struggles in America. The novel begins with the sisters living in the USA and ends with their childhood in the Dominican Republic. The book is divided into 3 parts, their titles emphasizing the sense of reverse chronology. The events of the novel are presented in the form of loosely connected episodes, which is why its plot structure can also be described as episodic. An episodic structure does not have a clear narrative arc, but rather a series of self-contained episodes, each focusing on a specific event, character, or theme. This structure allows the author to explore different aspects of the plot and examine characters and themes from a variety of perspectives. The novel 100 Years of Solitude describes the lives of 7 generations of the Buendia family. While each episode in the story focuses on specific characters and themes, these episodes contribute to the overall story, which begins with the founding of the town of Macondo and ends with its decline. In medias res, or pronounced correctly in Latin, in medias res, literally means into the midst of things, and is used to describe a literary work which begins in the middle of the action. Instead of introducing the setting and characters, the author plunges the reader directly into an intense moment. This creates tension and suspense, and keeps the reader engaged from the very start of the story, making them guess what caused the conflict. 2 famous ancient Greek epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, make use of this technique. The Iliad begins in the final year of the Trojan War and describes the dispute between the Achaean king Agamemnon and the warrior Achilles. The events leading to this point are gradually revealed through flashbacks. Similarly, the Odyssey begins almost at the end of Odysseus' journey back home, while the events that took place prior to this point appear later as flashbacks. A parallel plot structure makes use of at least two separate narratives, which eventually intersect. The narratives can be connected by a common event, theme, or character. Parallel narratives often shift between plot lines, offering a more engaging and dynamic reading experience. The novel All the Light We Cannot See employs this plot structure, shifting between the events in the lives of three characters. These stories ultimately intersect. The separate plot lines are connected by a common setting, the Second World War in Europe. Interestingly, the novel also begins in medias res. A circular plot structure tells a story which begins and ends at the same point, creating a loop and emphasizing the cyclical nature of time. This doesn't mean that nothing changes throughout the narrative. The protagonist usually undergoes a transformation. They gain new experiences, develop new perspectives, and begin to see things in a different light before they return to the situation or place where the story began. One example of a circular story is Alice's adventures in Wonderland. The novel begins with Alice sitting by a riverbank, noticing a white rabbit and following it into the rabbit hole. Throughout her adventures, Alice's views, logic, and reasoning are continuously challenged. She becomes more open-minded and learns to adapt to the absurd world of Wonderland. As she wakes up from her dream, she is still by the riverbank, but her personality is different from what it was at the beginning of the story. So, these were some of the main ways authors can choose to structure the plot of a story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.